Hey everyone, this is Udit Goenka from Udit.co, and you're listening to Modern Revenue, the podcast where I talk about the future of SaaS sales. This podcast is brought to you by FirstSales.io, a modern email outreach and warm up tool to help you fill your sales pipeline up to 7x faster. PitchCrown, my SaaS marketplace, and TinyCheck, my SaaS venture studio. In today's action packed episode, we're diving into the world of minimum viable products or MVPs. They're a powerful tool for early stage businesses, but the road to a successful MVP launch is riddled with potential traps. If you have an idea for a product and need help validating it, building an MVP, and launching it successfully, I want to invite you to check out my MVP as a service offering at udit.co. Through targeted validation, strategic roadmap creation, and launch support, I help turn your idea into a reality that wins over your first customers. Now, let's dive into how to avoid common MVP pitfalls and give your product the best possible chance of success. Chapter 1. Minimum doesn't equal mediocre. Crafting a lovable MVP. Picture this. You're at a restaurant presented with a minimum viable meal. It's a single unseasoned chicken breast tossed on a plate. Technically edible, but would you order it again? Would you even recommend it? The same applies to your MVP. It needs to go beyond simply functional to actually being desirable. The pervasive misconception that an MVP justifies a slapdash unfinished product is a recipe for a flop. Your initial release sets the tone for user expectations. Delivering a subpar experience, even if it's technically your first draft, can damage your reputation before you've even had a chance to iterate. Instead of focusing solely on the V, viable, in MVP, let's shift our focus to the L, lovable. How do you craft an MVP that isn't just tolerated, but actively embraced by your early adopters? Focus on the core experience. Whittle down your product vision to its most essential, differentiating feature, the one thing you do better than anyone else. Your first users need a reason to be excited, not just lukewarm. Polish is important. No, you don't need all the bells and whistles, but neglecting intuitive UI UX makes your product a chore to use. Strive for clean, bug-free functionality. Remember, those first adopters are your evangelists, and a product that feels clunky doesn't inspire evangelism. Delightful touches count. Small but thoughtful elements create a surprisingly memorable impact. Consider engaging onboarding, a touch of brand personality, or even something as simple as a well-crafted welcome email. Don't just aim for function, aim to charm. Let's return to our restaurant analogy. Imagine that initial minimum viable meal is replaced by a smaller but beautifully presented dish. The chicken is perfectly cooked, there's a simple flavorful sauce, and a sprig of fresh herbs for garnish. That feels different, doesn't it? That's the power of shifting your mindset away from a barebones offering and towards crafting a delightful, if simplified, experience. The takeaway is this. Your MVP is a chance to win hearts, not just test functionality. Don't sacrifice quality in the name of speed. Users can smell a rush job a mile away, and in a crowded market, first impressions are everything. Chapter 2. Validate, don't assume. The key to avoiding a costly misfire. Imagine spending months toiling away coding features, crafting interfaces, only to launch your MVP and hear deafening silence. Crickets. This is the horror story of countless startups, and it nearly always stems from the same fatal flaw: building something nobody actually wants. The misconception that visionary founders instinctively know what their customers need is a dangerous one. Intuition has its place, but it can't replace hard data. Validation, the process of deeply understanding your target customers and their pain points, is the difference between a gamble and a strategic launch. Why validation is everything. Validation isn't just about finding out whether people like your idea. It's about uncovering the why. What specific problem do they struggle with? What solutions have they already tried and found lacking? What would a truly transformative solution look like to them? This level of insight informs every aspect of your MVP, from feature set to messaging. Real-world casualty. Remember Google Glass? Technically impressive, but Google notably failed to validate whether it solved a widespread urgent problem for the average consumer. Result? A hyped product that flopped spectacularly. Don't just ask, observe. The best validation goes deeper than surveys. If possible, observe potential customers in their natural habitat. How do they currently tackle the problem you aim to solve? What workarounds do they employ? This gives you invaluable clues into the user experience you need to deliver. Actionable steps for rock solid validation. 1. Customer interviews. Nothing beats direct conversations. Aim for 10, 15 in depth interviews with people who perfectly fit your ideal customer profile. Prepare open ended questions focused on their pain points, not on pitching your idea. 2. Join the communities. Where does your target audience congregate online? Forums, subreddits, etc. are gold mines. Don't just promote, listen. See what problems they discuss repeatedly, the language they use, and even their frustrations with existing solutions. 3. Pre launch. Landing page. A simple page outlining your solution concept and an email sign up form can be incredibly insightful. Drive some targeted traffic to it and gauge the level of interest and what sort of language resonates with people. The key takeaway. Would you rather make changes on a whiteboard or after sinking a year into building the wrong product? Validation is the insurance policy that protects your precious time and resources. Validation isn't a box to tick off, it's an ongoing conversation with your potential users. Embrace this process and you'll dramatically increase your odds of building an MVP that actually resonates with the market. Chapter 3. The Problem Solution Trap. Why features don't sell, outcomes do. Imagine you're selling a drill. Many founders would focus on its technical specifications, the power of the motor, types of drill bits compatible, the sleek ergonomic design. But here's the thing. Nobody actually wants a drill. They want the hole the drill makes. This is the essence of the problem solution trap. Getting so caught up in the features of your MVP that you forget to communicate the transformation it offers. Users don't get excited about specs. They get excited about having their lives improved in a tangible way. Why this matters? Competition. The SaaS market is crowded. If you're not clearly explaining the unique problem you solve, you get lost in a sea of similar sounding products. User connection. People make buying decisions emotionally, then justify them with logic. Focus on the emotional impact of solving your user's pain point. Long-term value. Highlighting the outcome establishes your product's value proposition. It's the difference between being seen as a tool and seen as a partner in your customer's success. Real-world example. Dropbox, in its early days, didn't focus on storage space or syncing speeds. Its messaging was clear. Never email yourself a file again. It tapped into a universal frustration and offered a transformative solution. Actionable steps to shift your messaging. 1. The pain audit. List every pain point your product helps alleviate. Be specific, not just inefficient processes, but wasted hours on manual data entry or losing deals due to slow response times. 2. The transformation statement. For each pain point, craft a sentence about the ideal outcome your product enables. Cut manual data entry by 80% or respond to leads in under 5 minutes. 3. Feature versus benefit. Take your existing feature list. Don't just list the feature, translate it into the benefit it unlocks for the user. Example, instead of real-time analytics, say, see sales trends instantly to make better decisions. Key takeaway. Your MVP launch isn't a tech demo. It's a chance to tell a story of transformation your users can't wait to be a part of. Think of it like selling a home. Yes, the square footage matters, but it's the image of hosting a family gathering in the spacious living room or cooking in the sun-drenched kitchen that really makes the sale. Paint that picture for your users. Chapter 4. Finding the feedback gold. It's not just about surveys. The common misconception is that launching an MVP is the finish line. The truth is, it's merely the starting line. Gathering, analyzing, and acting on user feedback is the engine that powers your MVP's evolution into a market-winning product. But getting the right feedback is a skill, not luck. Haphazardly throwing up a survey or passively waiting for complaints won't cut it. You need to be proactive and strategic in unearthing the insights that will truly guide your MVP's trajectory. Why go beyond the obvious? Uncovering the unspoken. Users often can't articulate what's missing. They may work around a clunky feature instead of directly telling you about it. The aha moments. Those gold nuggets of unexpected praise or unexpected use cases often come from open-ended channels, not structured surveys. Context is king. A low rating without explanation is useless. You need to understand the why behind a user's sentiment. Example from the trenches. Early on, the team behind Intercom realized users were employing their messaging tool in unexpected ways for internal onboarding. This wasn't intentional, but it revealed a huge underserved need that pivoted the entire product strategy. Tools and techniques for feedback mastery of 1. The direct line make it easy for users to communicate with you in-app, chat widget, feedback form. Lowering the barrier to communication yields valuable real-time insights. 2. Targeted microsurveys. Don't just ask for general feedback. Tie short surveys to specific actions within your product, for example, after completing onboarding. 3. Observational data. Your analytics hold clues. Where do users drop off? Which features get low usage? This data informs the questions you should be asking. 4. Community is key. Create spaces, Slack group forum where users interact. This fosters open-ended discussions revealing deeper motivations and pain points. Key takeaway. Treat feedback as a conversation, not a one-time transaction. The most successful MVP launches see feedback as an integral part of the product development cycle, not just a box to check. Remember, users who take the time to give feedback are actively invested in your product. Treat their input as a gift, analyze it with care, and you'll unlock the transformative insights propelling your startup forward. Chapter 5. Iteration is your weapon. Why rigidity is the enemy. There's a misconception that MVP launches are about getting it right the first time. The reality is far more dynamic. Your MVP is a powerful starting point, but it's iteration, the cycle of informed improvement, that transforms it into a truly exceptional product. Embracing iteration means letting go of being overly attached to your initial vision. It requires a mindset shift from seeking the perfect finished product to embracing perpetual evolution. Why iteration is your superpower? Adapting to the market, user feedback, competitor analysis, and even a changing market landscape may necessitate pivoting your MVP. Rigidity in this environment leads to obsolescence. Uncovering hidden potential. Iteration allows you to experiment. What if you tweaked that feature or added an integration? Often, your best ideas emerge from the data you gather post-launch. Building trust. Showing users you actively respond to their feedback fosters a sense of partnership and demonstrates your commitment to their success. Real-world hero. Instagram began as a location-based app called Bourbon. What it became? Well, iteration based on user behavior led them to scrap many initial features, focus heavily on photos, and become a global phenomenon. Actionable steps for effective iteration. 1. Data-driven decisions. Don't iterate based on whims. Tie every change to user feedback, usage metrics, and your overall business goals. 2. Prioritize ruthlessly. You can't do everything at once. Focus on the iterations that will have the biggest impact on solving user problems or achieving key milestones. 3. Transparent communication. If you change features based on feedback, let your users know. This reinforces the idea that you're building with them. Key takeaway. Your MVP is your foundation, not your final destination. Iteration is what allows you to build not just a good product, but a truly exceptional one, meticulously tailored to your market's needs. Think of your MVP like a talented athlete. With the right training and continuous refinement, they outperform their initial showing. Your product is no different. The startup success story. From airbeds to empire. How Airbnb validated their way to the top. Picture this. San Francisco 2007. Two young designers, Brian and Joe, are struggling to pay their rent. A massive design conference is about to hit town and hotels are completely booked. They have a flash of inspiration. What if they turn their apartment into a makeshift bed and breakfast, offering air mattresses and a simple breakfast? This wasn't a long-term business plan, it was about solving an immediate problem. But Brian and Joe weren't afraid to experiment. They built a super basic website, Airbed and Breakfast, listed their apartment, and hoped for the best. To their surprise, three adventurous souls took a chance on their offering. This was their validation. It wasn't just their friends being nice. There was a real need for affordable alternative accommodations. But they needed to go deeper. The interviews. They talked to those initial guests and many other potential travelers. What did they hate about hotels? What did they worry about when staying with strangers? What was the ideal budget travel experience? Observing the market. Early listing sites like Craigslist existed but were chaotic. People primarily sought long-term rentals, not short stays. This gap was their opportunity. The MVP. Armed with insights, they iterated. Better photos became crucial. Joe, a photographer, knew this instinctively. A simple review system was needed for building trust. The focus shifted from just providing space to offering an experience. The scrappy airbed and breakfast evolved into Airbnb, a curated platform tapping into the desire for unique, affordable stays. They faced regulatory battles, skepticism, and endless competitor clones, but their early commitment to validation and iteration fueled key decisions. The host, Focus. Initially, they assumed travelers were the primary customer. Data showed that hosts were just as important. Curating listings and providing excellent hospitality became core to the value proposition, beyond just budget. While affordability was key early on, they discovered travelers sought connection. Unique listings, local experiences, and a sense of community fueled their growth into a broader market. Airbnb today is a global giant because of one simple question back in 2007. What if? They embraced their MVP as a starting point, let user feedback guide their path, and revolutionized an entire industry along the way. Chapter 6: The Mindset Shift. Embracing the marathon, not the sprint. There's a pervasive misconception that an MVP launch is like crossing a finish line. It's tempting to think, we shipped it, now it's just growth from here. The reality is far more nuanced. Your MVP launch is the beginning of an exciting and often unpredictable marathon. Setting the right expectations for yourself, your team, and any potential investors is crucial to avoiding disillusionment and maintaining the focus needed for long-term success. Why this mindset matters? Michi prevents burnout. Building a successful product takes time. If your team expects overnight virality, they are headed for frustration and exhaustion. Manage investor expectations. Investors need to see a clear path to traction, but overpromising early on can backfire when the reality of user acquisition and iteration sets in. Long-term vision, the MVP mindset is about perpetual progress. Setting the tone for this from the outset keeps morale high and fosters innovation. From the trenches, remember Evernote? Their initial MVP launch had strong early interest. However, the hype led them to over-prioritize rapid feature development over addressing fundamental performance and stability issues. The result was user backlash and a period of slow growth they had to recover from. Mindset shifts for MVP success. 1. Perfection is the enemy. The goal of your MVP is to learn, not to be universally loved. Be upfront with yourself and your team that critiques and complaints are valuable data, not signs of failure. 2. Metrics that matter. Early on, focus less on vanity metrics, total downloads, and more on engagement metrics, how frequently users return, feature usage. This gives you truer insight into whether you're solving a problem worth solving. 3. Celebrate the iterations. Each update, even small ones, is a win. Acknowledge progress publicly to your team and early adopters. This keeps the vibe positive and focused on the big picture. Key takeaway: your MVP launch is a powerful catalyst, but it's the sustained commitment to improvement that fuels long-term success. Embrace the journey, be transparent about the challenges, and let the marathon mindset guide your path. Conclusion: the MVP advantage. Seizing the opportunity. We've embarked on a comprehensive journey, demystifying minimum viable products and equipping you with the strategic mindset essential for a successful launch. Let's recap the critical takeaways. Minimum viable products and equipping you with the strategic mindset essential for a successful launch. Let's recap the critical takeaways. Think lovable, not viable. Craft an MVP that delivers a compelling, polished core experience, ensuring quality alongside key functionality. Validation is your compass. Deeply understand your users' pain points, their language, and the shortcomings of existing solutions. This foundation informs every decision you make. Tell the story of transformation. Focus your messaging on the problem you solve and the outcome you offer, painting a vivid picture for users, not simply listing features. Embrace the feedback loop. Implement multiple channels for gathering feedback and treat it as precious fuel for improvement. Analyze it carefully. Iteration is your growth engine. Be prepared to adapt, pivot, and evolve your MVP based on the insights you gather. Welcome change as the path to excellence. The marathon mindset. Sustainable success takes time. Set realistic expectations, celebrate incremental progress, and maintain a long-term focus on serving your users. An MVP is more than a product strategy. It's a philosophy of customer-centric innovation. Don't let anxieties about perfection hold you back. Start validating your idea, launch with a focus on value, gather feedback relentlessly, iterate boldly, and never stop striving to better serve your users. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. If this episode has sparked your enthusiasm, subscribe to Modern Revenue for more actionable insights on navigating the ever evolving world of SaaS sales. Let me know if there are any specific challenges you're facing in your MVP journey. We can tackle those together. To summarize, building a successful MVP is a journey that requires a shift in mindset. It's not about perfection, but about continuous learning and improvement. By focusing on creating a lovable product, validating your assumptions, communicating the transformation your product offers, gathering and acting on feedback, and embracing iteration, you set yourself up for long-term success. Remember, your MVP is just the beginning. It's the foundation upon which you will build a product that truly resonates with your target market. Stay committed to the process, stay open to feedback, and stay focused on delivering value to your users. I hope this episode has provided you with a roadmap for navigating the world of MVPs. If you have any questions or want to share your own experiences, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep innovating and keep pushing forward. The world is waiting for the solutions you bring to the table.